In case you're joining us live right now, folks, thank you for joining us for the Pursuit of Purpose live weekly show with the What Are We Doing series of podcasts. Today, we're going to be we are joined by State Representative and gubernatorial candidate Scott Bottoms from the great state of Colorado. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And for those of you on TikTok, he is working to get his link up, but he is on the show. He can see your comments and he can hear anyone who interacts with us through other points of social media. If you're out there joining us live, please come on. And if you'd like to call in, the phone number is 409-284-1540. Otherwise, we welcome your comments, questions, and ideas. This is going to be an open discussion. All those who join will be treated with respect. Even if we don't agree with you, we'll still be very respectful. But the topic for today, the topic for today is transgender transitioning in kids.
Is where it was. I don't know.
And there's been a lot of people talking about this. And when brought up before, we were like told that it was, we were told it was fake news by a lot of people. And, you know, I don't call that fake news. And when we had Scott on our show, we did an interview with him and we featured him and we showed his life journey, and it's an amazing story. Mm-hmm. But throughout that discovery process and getting to know him, he talked to us a little bit about his experience as a state representative and dealing with the schools doing this practice. Right. Would you mind describing that a little bit, Scott?
Yeah, I think first the concept of why people assume this is fake news is because it goes outside their scope. We cannot accept these kind of things. But let me give you a few things to Google, because you can actually find all of this stuff online. This stuff I didn't make this up. Children's Hospital in Houston, Texas, 3 years ago was doing these transition surgeries, and they had come out and publicly had said they were not doing them. And then some doctors that were part of Children's Hospital came out and exposed all of this. And it's still under investigation there. Right now, Children's Hospital in Aurora, Colorado is under investigation by the FBI and the DOJ.
Wow.
If you think that is not true, look it up. It is online. I had two people yesterday ask me, is this really happening? And so I sent them links. I can send you links. It's not, when we did a press conference at Children's Hospital, we didn't create something. In July of this year, the FBI and the DOJ started an investigation against Children's Hospital here in Aurora, Colorado, and two other hospitals in the United States also. And the reason was because they were doing transition surgeries on minors without parental knowledge. Now, whether somebody wants to believe that or doesn't want to believe that is their decision. But that's the truth. That's the actual information. You can do a 2-second Google search and find that out. But here's part of the problem that we're having in our country right now. And here's also a major reason why these transition surgeries are happening. They are being groomed by the teachers and counselors in schools, and they're being taken to the hospital. The teachers, counselors are telling the students, don't tell your parents. They get to the hospital says, don't tell your parents. It's all funded by the state of Colorado. Every bit of this is funded by the taxpayers. That's the laws that we have passed. But the reason that these things become so prevalent in our society is because you have masses of people that will not open their eyes and see that it is happening. Instead, the armchair coach kind of mentality where they sit back and say, oh, it's just not happening. Well, that's intentional, being intentionally naive. And that's what is destroying our kids. And I've been saying this for years about the church. Part of the reason that all these major subjects, abortion, grooming, even the hormonal therapies, the child trafficking, sex trafficking, the increase of pornography that fuels all this stuff. The main reason that stuff happens around the country, and by the way, America is the #1 country in the world for human trafficking of children for sex slaves. #1 in the world. The reason that is happening is because primarily, the church is quiet. They are ignorant of this. They are choosing to stay ignorant of this. They are pretending like it doesn't happen because it's easier not to get your hands dirty. But this is a major, major issue around the world. It's a major issue in America. Washington, D.C. and Hollywood are your main areas of push and influence there. Here's a little thing you can Google too. The percentage of transgenders around the world. Just pick a country, any country, and Google it. And it'll be somewhere specific. If it's a third world country, it'll be somewhere around 1 in every million, 1.2 million people are transgender. When you move into Western society, the statistics become much higher percentage. When you move into America, it becomes even higher. And when you go to Hollywood, it's 1 in every 3 people. So there's no way you can convince me that that's some kind of genetics, that God put these kids in the wrong body and all this kind of stuff. This is culture. This is grooming. This is evil pressure that is forcing our children into this context. And sorry to say it, but there are hospitals around the country. And by the way, Children's is not the only hospital in Aurora. I mean, in Colorado that is doing this. They're just the one that's being investigated by the FBI and the DOJ. So rather than be resistant of this, open your eyes, do a little homework, and actually care more about the children than your security inside your heart and your church security. Get out and do your homework.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can't help but wonder, like, what justification do people use when they make the decision to take a child against or without the parent's knowledge and submit or admit them into a medical facility to have a gender reassignment surgery, have a sex change on a kid?
Mm-hmm.
What justification do they use for that?
I'm even going to use the word subject a child to this because the child's not capable of making a decision. That's what
they're not.
Laws are for.
It's the same concept as I tried to pass a bill this last spring here in Colorado that said that if you're bringing kids across state lines, any minors across state lines for abortion or for transition surgeries, that is trafficking because children cannot make that decision. And for a grown adult, see, this is the conversations we have in Colorado is a 12-year-old, and this is literally, you can go on video and look at from our state house, from our House of Representatives, these arguments, that a 12-year-old has the ability, the cognitive ability to make a decision that will destroy the rest of their life and make them sterile the rest of their life, and will never even have any sexual intimacy, pleasure, or any of that kind of stuff because you destroy them. Well, they're old enough to make that decision at 12 years old. But then when it comes to Second Amendment laws, they say that you don't have the brain ability because your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25. And so then they passed a law this year in Colorado that says you can't buy ammunition unless you're 21 years old. Okay?
So they can't
because you can't make those decisions as a minor.
Yeah, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't join the military, they can't drive a car until they're 16,
right?
15. They can't work. They can't do anything other than have their gender reassigned.
Yeah, that they're old enough to understand.
These people are these are the definition, the epitome of hypocritical liars because they have an agenda. Now, the reason, come back to your question, the reason they're doing this on kids, there is the reasons they give, which is, well, this child needs to have their full expression and they were born in the wrong bodies and all this stuff. But you have to remember, LGB is a sexual preference. TQ plus is an ideology, and it's rooted in Marxism. And the number one target that these Marxists go after is autistic kids. We have a couple of groups in Colorado that are starting like a pushback group that are autistic people that are saying keep your hands off the autistic kids, because this is where they're pushing. Okay, so and a lot of the transgender kids don't actually understand what's going on. They don't know it's bigger than them. They don't get it. But these adults that are doing it, they have all of their reasons. But let me give you the real reason. The real reason is they are pedophiles that belong in jail. That's the real reason. These are teachers that are pedophiles that belong in jail. These are counselors, school counselors that are pedophiles that belong in jail. And not even school counselors, but therapists and all kinds. They are taking these kids to the hospital, having them have these surgeries. And if people are still thinking, oh, this is not happening, do your homework. The kids deserve for you to at least care about truth.
Right.
Okay. So, and here's part of the deal with this is, again, I've tried to pass laws. I tried to pass a law this last spring that any medical procedure done on a minor in the state of Colorado must have parental consent. The Democrats voted unanimously against it because they don't want parental consent for anything. Well, unless it's buying guns. If it's buying guns, you need to be 45 years old. But everybody else, you can have surgeries at 12 years old. And here's the reality. I've had people, when I do town halls and I'm traveling around for my governor run, they'll ask questions like, well, isn't it already state law in Colorado for parental consent? No, it's federal law. This is where it gets weird in Colorado. It's federal law, but it is not state law, because our state thumbs their nose at the Constitution, will stand up and say, we will. I tell them all the time, you cannot pass this law. It's not constitutional. And I'll read out of the Constitution. And they say, we'll pass the laws, you sue us. They don't care about the rule of law in the state of Colorado. They don't care about the Constitution. Our pedophilic mentalities run all the way up into the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And by the way, I am working on that behind the scenes. We are going to get these people arrested. We are going to get them because they're pedophiles. And I don't care if they're elected officials or teachers or school administrators or doctors of a hospital. They're going to go to jail for this stuff. It's just a matter of time. We have to slow move in Colorado because we have so much against us. We have so much, everything in the state, including our Supreme Court, is completely 100% Democrat packed. And most of these are activists. Most of them are corrupt, and they are packed. You got to remember, our Supreme Court is the one that said Trump couldn't be on the ballot. And then the Supreme Court of the United States slapped them down 9-0. Even the most liberal of the SCOTUS said our Supreme Court is nuts, corrupt, broken, and they overruled them. And so this is what we're dealing with in Colorado. Most people in other states do not understand this, do not accept this.
That is unbelievable.
That is.
So how long has this been going on?
This has been going on for years, quite a few years. In fact, we tried to defeat a law that was passed this last spring, and the law is 1312. You can go look it up. And it gave the framework. They changed it in the Senate, came back, but it gave the framework to be able to say that it's child abuse if you do not affirm a transgender ideology, right? And but here's the thing: while we were trying to defend that, and while the Democrats were trying to pass it in committee, we had about 70 people that came and testified with their children. Some of them didn't have their kids with them, but basically we're saying, my kid was groomed in school. My kid had the surgery. My kid had hormonal therapies. I never knew about it. We didn't know. They were keeping it. There's a great little documentary made by a previous senator in our state, along with a lady that started what's called Protect Kids Colorado. And the documentary is called Art Club. And the art clubs in school, I know this sounds weird, but they would say, well, we're having art club. Well, that was language that said this was about transgenderism. Wow. And so then all these kids were coming to the art club, and they were being pushed and bullied and all this other stuff. And that's where the conversation started happening. And then a teacher would take the handoff and start working with this kid and grooming this kid. This has been happening for years in Colorado. And we've had many people testify. This is why the FBI, okay, so the FBI doesn't do anything quick, right? This is why the FBI is investigating children's now, because it's been happening for years. Denver Health, downtown Denver, they admitted they were doing transgender surgeries. And then when federal funding got cut off, they stopped it. And now they've got private funding, so they're doing it again. So when do people care enough to stand up and say, hey, wait a second. Now, I will say, as I'm traveling around and telling people, and because I'll have people when I'm doing a town hall, they'll say, this is not happening. There's no way. So I'll just show them right there. I'll just show them on my phone. Google this. There's 25 sources that'll prove what I'm saying right now. It is not just Scott thinking he knows something. And by the time I walk out of those events, every single time, 100%, the people are saying, what can we do to stop this evil, demonic madness?
Right.
So I'm curious, you say it's been going on for years, and they're so good at keeping it under wraps.
Yeah.
From those of us, at least here in Texas, had we not had this conversation with you a couple of weeks ago, it would have been, I mean, we hear about things like that, from time to time, but we didn't realize the prevalency of it or the reality of it, just how much gravity there is in this. So it came up on one of our live shows, and some of the guests kept saying, well, cite your source. And we referenced you. And they were like, well, but that's cite your source. I'm like, well, he's a state representative. He has firsthand knowledge. He's dealing with it.
I can send you the bills they have passed by the hundreds.
This
is craziness. Let me give you one more, since you asked. Let me give you another bill here real quick that we tried to pass. Okay, so it did not get passed, but we tried to pass it, and I was part of the group that was trying to pass it, and then also I was sitting on the committee that this was happening, and the bill basically was saying this, that if you are an adult that is buying children to rape those children, okay, I will not use the word prostitution for a 13-year-old. They cannot be a prostitute. They are being raped. Okay. When you buy a child to rape that child, that we were asking for a minimum of, a mandatory of 4-year sentence in prison, at least a mandatory of 4 years. And I'm sitting on the committee. I'm so frustrated by this because right now, Florida just passed a law that if you're a pedophile, you can have the death penalty in Florida.
Yes,
and
we're real proud of Governor DeSantis for that.
Right.
No kidding. I wish we could do that in Colorado. But we try to get 4 years. I'm arguing for life sentence and a surgery. I think they would have to have a mandatory surgery. And by the way, I said in committee, I will do the surgery. I'm a doctor.
There you go.
Do what?
I said, there you go. I mean, I totally am in favor of that.
I am a doctor. I have a doctorate in intercultural spiritual leadership. I can do the surgery. And so,
well, I identify as a doctor now, since we can, do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and identify as a doctor, a lawyer. What else? Before you know it, I may, who knows what I'm going to identify with next.
Right. The power of flight. I mean, whatever you want. Yeah.
Right. Well, so they were arguing 4 years. The reason they were arguing for 4 years is because right now in the state of Colorado, and again, you can look up everything that I am saying. Right now in the state of Colorado, the people that buy children to rape them, and the demographic is white males between 40 to 45 years old that buy, and the demographic of the kids that they're buying are over 70% minority kids. So I thought the Black Caucus would get on board with us. The Black Caucus fought against us harder than anybody else, except one person who actually helped run the bill. And they trashed her. But so the reason we're saying this is because right now in Colorado, they get off on probation 90% of the time. Probation for raping a child. And I asked, I'm on the committee, so I can ask the questions. And I asked many of the police officers, sheriffs that were coming through and sitting on the committee and testifying. And they were asking us, please help us to have mandatory sentences. These guys, they're raping these kids and they're back out on the street in a few hours. And I said, what's the youngest child that you personally have caught? Not your department, not your team, but you personally have caught. And every single one of them said 2 years old. and they're getting off on probation. Probation 90% of the time. The Democrats voted unanimously against this. This is recorded. You can go look it up. And not only that, but one of the Democrats that's on the Black Caucus, she argued that the reason that the problem really here is that the children are not the victims, the buyers are the victims.
What?
That was her argument.
Were it not for the buyers and the sellers, the children would never have been there. I mean, the children are the absolute victims. The buyers and the
but
sellers
here's the thing.
are perpetrators.
This is the same woman that constantly would argue that nobody should ever be in jail. The way she said it was, people don't belong in cages. Well, when you rape kids, you belong in cages or
you actually
the death
belong
penalty.
around. Yeah,
I'm gonna go out on extreme here a little bit, but maybe we'll get some comments on some of the things that we're sharing. But if I'm not mistaken, being a student of scripture and spiritual things, as I know all three of us are, isn't that part of the definition of evil is liar, deceiver?
Yes.
So if she's saying something that's 180 degrees away from what any kind of reasoning would be, there it is right there. That is the presence of evil in that room.
Yes. Well, and it, scripture says in the last days, people will believe a lie. That doesn't mean people are deceived into believing something that they didn't know was a lie. That's not what it says. It says that they will believe a lie. They know it's a lie. They are voluntarily choosing to embrace something that all lies come from Satan. So therefore you are voluntarily embracing the verbiage and the language that Satan is giving you, knowing that Satan has given it to you.
Right.
That you can't get more evil than that. And then when you take it another way, where you're not just embracing it, but you're propagating, you're pushing that into other people. That's pure evil. That is truly demonic. I had a reporter do an article on me right after I became a representative. He came and interviewed me. I don't do interviews with him anymore, but he came and interviewed me, and he claims to be a woman. And he came and said, he asked me a bunch of questions, and then he said, so you said something about this stuff being evil. And I said, yes, this is evil. It's demonic. Well, he did this big article about me, and he quoted me perfectly. He didn't misquote me or anything, but he made this big argument in the article that I actually believe in evil and I actually believe in demons. And I was like, great article. You did a great job. I do believe in evil, and I do believe in demons.
He thought he was burning you.
Yeah, he thought he was burning me. That happens all the time. It's a weird thing. Yeah. I get quoted very accurately most of the time because they think by quoting me, it reveals some kind of ignorance or some kind of bias or some kind of prejudice or racism or something. And they quote me well, and I did say that stuff, but I'm not all the things that they think I am.
Right. So I've got a question for you. I mean, you are a Republican, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And do you consider yourself to be a constitutional conservative?
Yeah, I'm a strong constitutional conservative.
Okay. I assume
part of the problem we have is we don't respect the Constitution anymore.
So I am curious. I mean, you are not the only Republican in Colorado making a bold assumption on my part. Is that true?
I'm not the only Republican in Colorado. Yes.
Okay. So, your fellow Republicans, how come there is not more uproar about this in the party? How come there are not more outspoken people from the constitutional conservative Republicans? How come they're not doing this? How come they're not speaking out and asking for help with votes?
Well, there's I would put this into two groups. There's the average rank and file Republican across the state. And most of them just don't really know what's going on. When I go and do these town halls, and I'm not the only elected Republican that is hardcore about stuff like this too.
Okay.
There are others. But the average rank and file don't know that's happening. So our responsibility has been trying to get the word out there. The media clamps down on it like crazy. They're very intentional about keeping it quiet. And the church has been very, very intentionally silent because they don't want to get their hands dirty with politics and stuff. But literally just in the last 8 or 9 months, I am seeing that. I've been traveling around the state for a few years now, trying to wake the church up, trying to get pastors. It's really the pastors. The church is willing and ready, but they've been being told by the pastors that this is not where the church is involved. Okay, so you've got all these things working against the rank and file Republican that don't know about it. Once they know about it, they become very agitated and they become engaged. And how can we help? And I literally have thousands of people now that are saying to me, can we be on your campaign? Can we help? Can we pass out things? This is all over the state of Colorado. This isn't people that are going to vote for me. That's in the over 1 million mentality. But people that are saying, I want to be actively involved. The problem that we've had for many, many years in the state of Colorado is you have elected Republican leadership that tries to stifle this stuff. And I have been told to my face in caucus meetings, I've been told this in private meetings with leadership around the state, we've got to stop being so conservative. We have to move to the middle. We have to stop arguing about these issues. I've had many Republican leaders, elected officials say that we've got to stop talking about abortion. We've got to stop bringing up all this grooming stuff. It is not, I get the term, you got to move to the middle. That's the only way we can get elected, except we've been losing elections like crazy in Colorado for 20 years, to the point where last session, we were a super minority in the House. We won 3 seats back in the last election because people of Colorado starting to open their eyes and realize we need this, not because these people were strong conservatives that were running, but because the people of Colorado are more conservative than the people that are running, and they're putting them in office even though they're not that conservative. And so now I've been shouting this from the rooftops. I will not be middle of the road. I will not be wimpy. The Republican Party leadership gets very angry at me about this. They fight me. They undermine me around the state. But here's the reality. The people of Colorado are moving to the right. Democrats across the state, I could spend an hour on this, are saying we are tired of what's happening. We do not like what's happening with our Democrat leadership. There's many articles for you guys that are assuming I'm making stuff up. Go look at Forbes. Forbes magazine did an article on this. The Denver Post did a magazine article on this. Forbes actually did 2 articles and Denver Post did 2 articles. And one of those articles was a Denver Post said I was the front runner in the state. And this put a bad taste in a lot of the people's mouths in our Republican Party because I don't compromise with our Republican Party. A lot of them, not the people, but the leadership, a lot of them are wimps that their only desire is to get money and get elected. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about the people. They're not out saying this stuff that I am.
Right.
Now, there are a handful of House representatives that are strong on this. And I work with them and we fight together. They're very strong. But there used to be only 4 of us. Now there's 6 of us. And we get attacked by our party leadership. We get told to stand down, all this stuff. But here's the thing. My leadership knows if you say to me, don't, it doesn't matter what you say after that. If you say don't, I'm gonna. So they realize that. We are starting to change some of the leadership. We're starting to change some of the concept and the conversations across the state of Colorado within the Republican leadership. But man, we are fighting an uphill battle. And right now, most of our leadership is in a fight. They're just in a fight with other people, just fight. They're not doing what I'm doing. I'm not playing their game. I've risen above that. I'm running for governor. I'm going to be governor, and then they can come back and have that conversation with me. I tried to have the conversations with them about this. We've got to get vocal. We've got to stand against this, but they won't. And so now when I'm governor, then they can come back and we can begin to have the conversation again about what it means to actually care about the Constitution, care about conservatism, care about kids, care about their lives. There's a Republican guy in our leadership, in our state leadership that made his pitch was no strong conservatives can win in Colorado. So why are we letting them be a voice in and he's talking about me. Why are we letting them be in a voice in our party? Well, I just did an event Saturday night at Governor's Forum. Now we have like 20 something governor candidates in the Republican Party in Colorado.
Wow.
15 of them were at this event and it was a forum and we all did questions. It wasn't a debate. It was a forum. And then they took a straw poll afterwards. Of all the candidates there, I got more votes. I got twice as many votes as all of the rest of the candidates.
Congratulations.
There was like 160, 170 people there. I got over 100, I think it was 107 votes. The next closest person to me was 20.
Wow.
And these are the people that are saying I'm too conservative, is the
Right.
20. Is I'm too conservative. Well, here's the thing. The people are not listening to the same old playbook in the state of Colorado anymore. They are fighting for their kids. They are fighting for the Constitution. Our state is the most liberal state, and they are attacking every single element of our society. They are a Marxist leadership, and even the Democrats are saying we can't do this anymore. I am going to get so many Democrat votes. We know this because we're hearing the numbers, we're hearing the people.
Right. Well, something we notice in our podcast with our audience and with our guests and out in the community, not just here, but as we travel across the country and do different things and talk to people are looking for conviction. Yes. People are looking for people with an absolute focus and direction, with character. And you can't have character riding the line.
No.
You cannot, if you, like the old adage, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Mm-hmm. And people are tired of falling for anything. Right. They're tired of being told whatever it takes to get a vote. Right. They are looking for leadership that has true convictions. And if the Republican Party doesn't wake up and pay attention, there's not going to be leadership left.
Yeah, if you think whatever it takes to get a vote really translates in the minds of a more educated constituency is whatever it takes to keep your job. And I'll say this too about moderate thinking in houses of Congress like what you're in. If you give a moderate a choice, then they won't. I remember somebody way back in the Rush Limbaugh days saying something like that. I go, that is so true. So you have to give them a bold choice. It's either this or it's that, and then they will choose. And I'm gonna go back just a little bit to Representative, a topic you brought up. Years ago, I don't know, maybe let's say a decade ago, I'm just sitting around kind of just, thinking and meditating on a lot of things that were going on. I happened to be talking with my family, and I just turned to my mom, who was, a mother in the 60s and all the way through today, still with us. And I said, I have a question. I said, let's go back to, say, the 60s, the civil rights movement. Where was the church? And she said, excuse me. I go, where was the church? I don't recall the church being involved with what was a right thing, which was, and you can probably even go back to the late 1800s and some of the slavery arguments and things that were going on. Where was the church? Because I don't have evidence that it was there. So I'm thankful that you're actually going to these supposed like-minded people and saying, are you ready? Are you ready to get busy? Because there's a lot to do, and that we're not going to get done in the confines of this brick building.
I tell you something to look up and study if you're interested. Something that's called the Black Robe Regiment. This was, and there's some guys that write books. It's a father and a son. Their last name is Barton, and David Barton is the father. And they do a lot of historical stuff. These guys are amazing historians, and they're great Christians too. And they go back and they look up what the church was doing and how the church was involved in the revolution and all these other kind of things. And interestingly, the church leadership was always the tip of the spear in political stuff up until the time of LBJ. Okay, and LBJ did something called the Johnson Amendment, which attacked churches and said you'll lose your tax-exempt status. It didn't have any teeth to it. It wasn't a law, but the church began to cave like crazy and get scared to death. They were going to lose their tax-exempt status, part of my argument with that is if that's what's deciding what you preach and how you stand is whether you pay taxes, you're a hireling already, in my opinion. You're not a shepherd. And so, but that's what caved the church for a long time. And now the Supreme Court came out a couple months ago and said, no, Johnson Amendment was never legitimate. The church is actually in the First Amendment. You can endorse candidates. You can talk about candidates. You can bring candidates because you've always had the First Amendment right to free speech. Mm-hmm. And that's been my argument for 25, 30 years. And so, yeah, the church through our history was very strong, but it's only as of modern that the church just laid down and rolled over.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't something similar come out during Obama's 8 years? If not from him, definitely from a Congress that he was obviously, cooperating with. But it seems to me that there were ministers and pastors saying that they had gotten similar messages. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems like that's even as recent as a decade ago.
Yeah, Obama was trying to take away the tax-exempt status. He tried that twice. He ran it through Congress twice. It failed both times. But he was using the IRS to threaten churches around the country. But here's the thing. So, and I've said this publicly for years, then take me to court. Sue me. First, take my tax-exempt status away. Do that, because that'll be everything I need to destroy you in court. Church is mentioned in the Constitution, and you would have won that under Obama's administration. Anybody, you would have won that at the Supreme Court because it's what our law says. But yeah, there's always the threat. I got the threat. When I was first running for representative, our church got broke into, and they didn't steal really anything. I mean, there was a little bit of cash sitting in a bag on my admin's desk or something like that, and they took that. But they didn't steal anything. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. They didn't steal anything. But they took all of the files out of our file cabinets and threw them all over the church foyer and hallways and all kinds of stuff. And they took one file and they laid it open on my administrative assistant's desk. And it was our tax exempt file. So we knew, and I to this day, I know who orchestrated that break-in. Wow. I did let the police know that. The police said there would be there's very little evidence to that. And although they agreed with me, they said this was a political break-in. And now we have all kinds of extra security and cameras and flamethrowers under the walls and things like that. So, right. So anybody that wants to break in, go ahead.
Like, come on back. Hey, come on. You got to get the Indiana Jones arrows coming down the hallway.
We got those are there. We got
and tip darts, the whole 9 yards. That's awesome. That is awesome. So your average everyday person, the viewers of this show, what can they do? And other than Google and learning and all that stuff, what can they really do to oppose this? What can they do to protect their kids? And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say this. We have heard from members of the trans community. We actually interviewed a guest on our show who was a transgender person, and none of them that we have spoken with are in favor of doing this stuff to kids.
Exactly.
None of them. They don't want sexuality in schools.
Right.
They don't want any of that weirdo stuff grooming kids. Even those who are living that lifestyle don't agree with that behavior, like what Colorado is doing and what some parts of Texas are trying to do. It's really fascinating that they do all these things under the guise of, protecting them or affirming them or whatever it is, and even members of that community don't agree with it.
Yeah, so this is some of the learning curve that I've been on probably for about 10 years, a little bit more than that. So again, I mentioned the LGBT community and the TQ plus community are not the same thing. A lot of the gay community are very, very upset at this grooming stuff. Very upset. Some of my biggest supporters are gay groups here in Colorado. There's one called Gays Against Groomers that the president of that in Colorado, for a while, he's not now, but he went to the federal level and he did legislation stuff for them. But he's turned out to be a good friend. We talk about the homosexual mindset in the community. He knows I'm not on the same page with him with that, but I don't hate him. He's a good friend. No. We're just on a different page. And I talked to him about the Bible with this. I mean, all these kind of things. But he's one of my biggest supporters. And they're not okay with the grooming. There are transgender people that are not okay with the grooming. But you have to also include that most of the transgender community are militant. They're militant and they're activists. Guys, right. Almost all school shootings and mass shootings in the last decade have been by somebody that's transgender.
Wow.
And when they're not, they're extreme leftists. The narrative that Jimmy Kimmel was trying to pull on the American people, that man's a liar.
Well,
He knew that there was not a right-wing Republican that had pulled the trigger on that gun. Republicans aren't out shooting people. No. They're not. I don't care what anybody says. They're not. Show me the person. Show me the person that is a Republican, right, a conservative, or a constitutionalist, or any of those categories, right, shooting somebody. Even the 2 Democrat lawmakers that were shot last year, this did not get a bunch of media. And the reason is because they were shot by another Democrat that actually worked for Tim Walz, the vice presidential candidate.
Wow. And you can go back to the baseball game when they were all out at the field.
Yes.
That was the softball game, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another liberal Democrat who was just, targeting anybody in a uniform.
Right.
Yeah. And thank goodness somebody did have security with them. As a matter of fact, I think it was our speaker at the time did have a small security contingent with him.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, exactly. It's amazing when the effort that will be put into trying to maintain that narrative, which with every time it turns around, it just gets eroded and eroded, which is likely why you're getting support from unlikely places, because they're tired of the lies too. Let's just live in truth, and we can all live better.
And they're tired of being pulled into this.
Yes.
The TQ plus tries to pull the LGB into this conversation because they're all part of the letter, the alphabet soup, but they're not. Right. This is the thing, they're not. And coming back to your original question, what can people do? The first thing is get into the knowledge, educate yourself, do some homework, know what you're talking about before. And I'm not saying this, I'm not taking this personal. I get this all the time. I am running for governor. People don't like what I say. I get that. I literally do not take this personal. But when you're part of the church or you're part of conservatism and you're picking on guys like me because you think I am making stuff up, you're part of the problem. You are literally part of the problem. The first thing is educate yourself. When I travel around the state of Colorado, I am educating people more than trying to get their vote, because I know if they get educated, they will vote for me. I'm not worried about the vote in the long term. I'm going to have that. I'm going to be the next governor of Colorado. But I want people to know what's going on because their kids are being targeted in their schools and they don't even know it.
Right.
This is happening all across the state of Colorado, even in rural areas. And it's easier to root out in rural areas, though. And then the second thing is get involved somehow. In the state of Colorado, you can be a precinct leader, you can be a delegate. That has a lot of voter power because we're a caucus state. Texas isn't, so it doesn't apply the same way. But get involved, precinct leader, delegate, those kind of things. Get involved in your local Moms for Liberty or any kind of constitutional group that's doing something on the west slope of Colorado. There's some great people that are a part of a Stand for the Constitution group. There's all kinds of groups all over the state of Colorado that are trying to do things, but they're small in number in comparison. And usually they get picked on by everybody, including the people that call themselves conservatives, but are just really kind of Republicans, maybe. So get involved. Don't buy into the people that say that we need to be more liberal, that we need to move to the middle. That has been destroying our state. We move more to the middle every single year, and it's been 20 years since we've had a Republican governor, and before that it's probably been 50 years if you take that one Republican out of the mix. We're losing seats in the House and the Senate. We're losing all kinds of stuff all over the state, but the state of Colorado is changing, and we're seeing where a lot of people are saying enough's enough, and they're starting to vote and get involved. If you're part of the church, stop sitting on the sidelines. It is biblical that you get involved. Stop acting like you're bigger and better than politics. Jesus wasn't. He was involved. John the Baptist got beheaded because of political statement. Paul was involved. He got killed, beheaded potentially, because he was involved in politics. Called before Festus. Called before Agrippa. These were political moments. And Jesus said at the Last Supper, he told the disciples, when you are brought before kings and rulers, that's politics. He said, the Holy Spirit will put the words in your mouth. And I live by that mantra right there. That is a scripture that is deep in my spirit, that when I open my mouth and speak, that the Holy Spirit will put words in my mouth, because I am involved in the arena that I was called to be involved in as a Christian. And so yeah, get involved, do something. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Go to your school boards, run for school board. I've met with over 50 school board candidates in the state of Colorado in the last 3 or 4 months. I have a guy that's connecting me with them. It's very intentional. But all over the state, I meet with school board candidates and tell them, one thing is I try to listen to them and see where they're at. And if they're not strong enough, I'll tell them, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to take a stand here. If you don't, first, you won't get elected, because people are tired of electing slimy worms. They want to elect leaders. They want to elect conservatives. And it's changing our state. We are seeing our state changed.
Well, I'm proud of you for taking the stance that you are and for being willing to put yourself out there. If there are people in our audience that live in the state of Colorado, how can they help you, Scott?
They can go to scottbottoms.com. That's our website. And help us reclaim Colorado. I have 6 priorities on my website, but we are also, each of these priorities are committees and subcommittees and subcommittees, because we're unpacking every single one of these subjects, and people all over the state of Colorado are on these committees. And I think almost all of them have met at least once. Some of them met 2 or 3 different times. And we're asking for the people of Colorado to help us develop policy on these 6 priorities. Then we take that to the legislature in January, and then I'm going to also be using this as a governor to see this is what the people are saying, and within the concept of our priorities, and they can get on those. Also, we definitely need campaign contributions. We know the Democrats are going to have, Senator Bennett will be the Democrat on the other side, and he'll probably have close to 50 million.
Wow.
Governor Polis, that's active right now, will put probably 25 million in there just himself. If you saw this last week, it probably didn't make news in Texas so much, but it does here. Bloomberg sent Senator Bennett $500,000 through a PAC this last week. They're going to have lots of money. We're trying to get between 7 and 10 million raised, and we think our 7 and 10 million will accomplish a lot more than Bennett's 50 because of the people. I strongly am still a we the people. And also, if people have questions, if they think I'm making something up, if they think, well, email me, ask me directly. Don't tell somebody else that I don't know what I'm talking about. Ask me directly, and I'll give you the proof. I don't just speak stuff because I want them to be true. I get them from, I get tons of statistics constantly, and I have a pretty good handle on remembering statistics. And so, yeah, talk to me, send me stuff. If you want to get involved, come to our website. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah. So we wanted to invite you on here because, we had those guests last week that challenged us and kept saying, well, cite your source. And we wanted to offer everyone out there an opportunity to actually speak to the source, because you're the source.
There it is.
And so here you are offering yourself up live. And I want to take this chance that our audience that's been watching on TikTok or on Facebook, on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, X, anywhere out there that you're live watching this, by all means, please, if you have questions, comments, anything you'd like for candidate representative Bottoms, Dr. Bottoms, to answer, we would love to hear from you. Let you speak your piece, ask your questions. You're welcome to put in whatever it might be. Go ahead and type it. If you don't want yourself to be named in the thing, say that. But otherwise, we would love to let you go directly to the source and get your questions answered. We did have somebody early on in the show when we first got on here. I'm going to scroll through back up to the people joining. We had Anarchist Magazine join and say, what shoes does Charlie Kirk got on? Now, I don't know what that means exactly, but I would imagine whatever he's wearing in heaven, they're probably pretty shiny.
Yes, they're made for golden streets.
But anyhow, so of all the things that are going on in the great state of Colorado, we've talked about and touched on some pretty negative circumstances, some things that cause great concern. Tell us something good that you are hoping for and spearheading for your state, both as a representative and a candidate for governor.
Well, I love Colorado. I have to talk about some of just the aesthetic value of Colorado. We're the most beautiful state in the United States, in my opinion.
It is beautiful.
I hear people in the Smoky Mountains that argue, and some people from Utah argue and stuff, but they're wrong. Colorado is the most beautiful state in the United States. I love living here. I love the weather. I love the people. Most of the people in Colorado are very good, just solid, down to earth. We kind of do lean a little toward hippie in Colorado, but I like that too. Everybody is a get out in the mountains and do something. I mean, we're just an outdoor state. People are just out walking their dogs and bicycling and hiking all the time. In fact, it can be snowing outside and there'll be people walking their dog in the snow. It's just who we are. Mm-hmm. I love Colorado. I love our sports teams. I'm a massive Colorado Rockies fan, and we're horrible. We're so bad. But I mean, we were about to break the record of the worst team ever in the history of baseball, and then we went on a little winning streak. But I'm a fan. I go to the games. I cheer them on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things about Colorado that I really, really love. What I don't like is this small group of people that have taken it over. This small group of leftists and Marxists that take it over and try to destroy everything. But here's the good news. Like I said earlier, the church is starting to wake up. I've been all over the place. Now pastors are calling me and having meetings, and by the 50s or 60s or something like that. And before, for 2 years, I was begging past one pastor, hey, have coffee with me and talk to me about politics and things like that. But the church is waking up, and it's been forced to, because we've had two horrible things. We constitutionalized abortion last November, and then in the spring we passed a transgender bill that is horrible. And so the church is having to wake up. They don't have the choice anymore, but they're doing good. The Hispanic community in Colorado is moving strongly to the right. The Hispanic community is very, very conservative, and but they have always voted Democrat because they've been tricked by the Democrats. And a lot of things are waking them up. And one of them is the illegal alien issue that's happening. And a lot of the Hispanic and Latin community is saying that this is not okay. And so they're also waking up, and that's very encouraging. I'm going to strongly get the Hispanic vote. I talked to a lot of the Hispanic leadership around the state, and they're going to endorse me. They brought me to meetings, events that are all Hispanic events, and I speak at those. The Hispanic church is waking up like crazy in Colorado. I did a breakfast in Arvada with a group of Hispanic pastors, maybe about 50 Hispanic pastors, and it is amazing what is happening in the Hispanic church. And then you take the fact, and this is the most encouraging to me, is all of the Democrats that we are getting word from that are going to vote for me. Guys, there is a saving grace there that I can't explain, that when the liberals move away from the liberal leadership, that gives you a little bit of hope back in humanity, right? That not everybody that just, they're not just complete sycophants, that they actually will try to care for kids. And that's encouraging to me, that the whole state is not lost. I get that all the time. The state of Colorado is done. No, it's not. There are many good people, many good Democrats around the state that will also do this. And so there's just a lot of greatness that is happening in the state of Colorado. And I say this every now and then when I'm doing events, but I'm telling you, this is very impactful to me. Is I kind of got this about 2 months ago. I was praying and spending some time with God, and this really connected in my head and my spirit. So we know that Colorado is the most liberal state in the United States. They've worked hard at that. But on election night in November of 26, when MSNBC and CNN and all of the liberal stations here in Colorado, and then, Fox News and Newsmax and everybody around the United States, when they have to announce that a Christian conservative pastor just got elected as governor in the most liberal state in the United States, think about the ramifications, the shock waves across the rest of the United States that will embolden other people and other candidates and other House and Congress and Senate members across the United States. Because if I can do it, just an average pastor in a church, that's all I am. When I can win the governor's seat in the most liberal state in the United States, there's hope. And there's hope not just for Colorado, because we will turn Colorado around. We will reclaim Colorado. We will. But think about what that does across the entire United States. And so I'm excited. I love being in the middle of this. I love being the guy that's running for governor in the most liberal state. I love this. It's fun. It's exciting. And I love Colorado too.
One of the things we're all, can go back decades and paying attention to that portion of our great republic, which is politics. And your situation reminds me of how frequently people overlook how much people are paying attention to you. And I'm not trying to say to be flattered. I'm saying,
even you're right.
Be your opposition, they're watching and they know. So watch the attacks become fierce and creative and all sorts of things, maybe probably even just lies, which you're not unaccustomed to, because they know that there's momentum. And I congratulate you. That's just nothing but hard work right there.
Yeah, I already have this. I mean, I've been a representative for 3 years. Some of the TV stations hate me. They do hit pieces on me. There's this guy that's on Channel 9 in Denver that he's a complete goofball, and he just makes stuff up. He lies. He does all this stuff, and he hates me. And it's really cool because every time he does a hit piece on me, I get so many donations. And so I want to thank, his name is Kyle Clark, and I want to thank Kyle Clark for helping me in my campaign. He is doing a phenomenal job.
Keep up the good work, Kyle.
Yeah, keep up the good work. But yeah, I've already get the attacks. I even get some of the attacks from Republicans. We had a big bot attack against all of our social media stuff a week or so ago, and we know where it came from. My team has done. I have some great people on my team, and we know where it came from, and it came from a Republican, and it's just the way it is. Those things don't bother me. I mean, my team got really angry, and they're like, because I was trending so high on every single social media thing. I mean, nobody is even close to me. And you put all of the Republicans together, nobody's close to me. And that was making some of the people that had jumped in the race fairly recently, it had really irritated them because they couldn't get any traction. And so they sent out all these bots against my social media and crashed a bunch of my social media and took it down. But I don't care. I believe that bots will even vote for me when it comes time.
Well, you're making a difference if the people in the cemetery start voting for you.
Yes.
I mean, that's the hardcore left.
Ooh, man, they are hard
right there. I mean, that's the ones. If you get those votes, you've done something.
Yeah, I have a guy in our church that's moving. He's moving to Houston actually, and he told me last night, he's one of my board members of the church, and he said, "I'm sorry, Pastor, I'm moving. So now apparently I probably will vote Democrat in Colorado because all of his ballots will be taken, and all of a sudden will be voted differently." So.
Yes.
Yep.
True that.
There's only one. There's like you said, there's more than one, but there's one surefire way to vote Democrat.
Yeah,
and that's to die.
That's to
die.
Yeah. So you've offered a lot to think about, and thank you for being a source of true information. Thank you for having your convictions, for standing on what you believe in, and remaining steadfast and unafraid for your character, your convictions, and for your constituents. And that's what amazes me. Even if your constituents don't believe in everything you espouse, they know that you have the courage of conviction to go forward with truth.
Yes.
That will make people believe in you and vote for you all the more.
Yeah.
Even if they don't agree with you, just because you have that courage as a leader.
And that's the thing, is I am a leader, and I don't legislate. I don't pastor. I don't do anything by polls. I get before God, and I really seek God. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. I make mistakes, yes, but I lead through conviction. I don't lead through what people are trying to get me to do. And part of the reason I say that, the reason that is so important, is because my wife and I talk about this all the time. When somebody donates to my campaign, what they are donating to is they are donating to what I believe is going to rule the day, and that I am going to be strong in my convictions. Even if they don't believe all that I believe, they know that they are supporting me because I cannot be bought. They are getting behind me. A lot of donations that go to politicians are people out in front of the politicians saying, "Come toward me."
Yep.
Those are two different mentalities.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You work for who pays you. Well, the people of Colorado are who it donates to me. I don't get all the big PAC money and all that kind of stuff. I want it. I really want it.
Right.
And I may get it in the future. But the only reason that a PAC would give to me or anything like that is because they are behind me, supporting me, not trying to pull me toward them and trying to buy me off or any of those kind of things. And that's very well known across Colorado, and all the lobbyist groups, all the Democrats know this. There's no doubt about this. And by the way, all the Republicans do too. And so for some people that makes them crazy mad, but for most people, they respect that, and they want somebody like me. They want somebody like me, cannot be bought. I'm honest. I'm a person of integrity and character. I don't cheat on my wife. We've been married for 35 years, and next month, I mean, no matter how you spin it, I'm not one of the bad guys. I'm one of the good guys.
Right. Well, we're proud to have you on. We were super proud to have featured you.
Yeah.
For those of you who may not have seen it, go check out our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, any of those places, and find the story of Scott Bottoms and his journey, and how he got to where he is now, and how he kind of came to the decision to become the next governor of the great state of Colorado.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate your direction, your focus, your character, your courage, and especially your convictions. And I pray that our audience helps you, gets behind you. Where do they go if they want to become a part of your campaign? If they're in Colorado or what have you, and they want to get involved, how do they find you? What do they do?
ScottBottoms.com.
Oh, it's real complicated.
Yeah, really difficult. Scott Bottoms. I got that name from me. So ScottBottoms.com, and everything is on there. Giving portals, everything is on there.
Very good.
Love it.
Very good. Thank you. And so if anyone does want to take you up on your offer for surgery, if any of those out there who are grooming young children want to take him up on his offer for transitioning into a eunuch, they can also go on there and send a message, and I'm sure he can provide that. We will as well. We'd offer our help in that area.
Sure.
I will, for that moment, I will identify as a surgeon and a doctor, and I promise you to do it painfully and uncleanly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'll identify as a anesthesiologist.
There you go.
Make sure you feel no pain.
So Chuck will wield the hammer, and I'll wield the blade. We'll get it all done. But anyway, Scott, is there anything that you'd like to offer up for the audience as we close? Thank you for being our guest.
I would say, the most important thing, this is not cliche. This really is the most important thing is when you think about me, pray for me. This is a spiritual battle beyond what I've ever experienced before. Pray for me. And then there are lots of people that pray for me. I really understand that. I accept that. I mean, I embrace that. I feel it, sense it. But please just pray for me. If you'll do that, that's huge.
Well, the two guys sitting on the side of this desk, we commit to you that we will be in prayer for you.
Yes.
You have us supporting you, and we believe in you. And I can't thank you enough for your heart and for what you're doing, not just for your state, but for our nation, because our nation needs voices like that, standing up for what's right. It's not about what you like. It's about what's right.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not always the easy path.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank you always for having me. This is a lot of fun. You guys make it easy. Some podcasters don't make it easy, but
Well,
we do.
we've got another topic that you brought up that we may ask you to come back on. I'm not going to pin you down on it, but you brought it up a little bit, immigration. And that's a topic that we've done a show on, and it was extraordinarily involved. A lot of questions. So we may talk about that. If you're interested in coming back on for another live show, we may do that as a topic.
I would love that. So all of the people that are probably saying, hey, he's making stuff up. Wait till I start telling you about what I know about immigration and the Venezuelan cartel and everything. It'll blow your mind. It'll literally blow your mind.
Wow.
Well, there you go. There's a prelude to a future episode, possibly to be announced. So look forward to that. Make sure you stay tuned for more episodes of Pursuit of Purpose podcast and the What Are We Doing live shows every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. Our guest today has been, go ahead and sign off for yourself.
Dr. Representative Pastor, gubernatorial candidate Scott Bottoms, gubernatorial candidate for Colorado, and have a great day.
Thank you, Scott. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And y'all have a great day, and we'll talk soon.